back with another episode of the Patriots Only Please podcast. And this time we are post-VP debate SmackDown edition. As usual, I am your host, Jeff, and I'm joined by Mr.
Soley,
our other incredible host. And yes, we're coming to you remotely to discuss all things election. I mean, we are we in the 30-day mark? Well, almost. It's the third, so we're almost a month away. So yeah, let's get your take on the VP debate. Everything surrounding it. Is it going to move any needles? Is it going to change any hearts and minds? And what do we do in this home stretch?
I think the debate. We'll dive right into that. I think the debate. First of all, good to see you, buddy. It's been a minute. I think the debate it proved a couple of things immediately. It proved that CBS is the same as ABC, left-leaning, lamestream media. They bullied up on J.D. Vance right away. It was 3 against 1. The difference is J.D. Vance was ready for it. Every time they did the whole subterfuge, fact check him, not Walz, J.D. had a response. They had to cut his mic off a couple of times, which is completely disrespectful. But you know what? Any human being that speaks English and watched that debate could see that it was 3 against 1. They wanted Walz to win. They don't like J.D. Vance. They don't like Trump. It was painfully obvious the media is no longer impartial at all, not even trying to be. And he still dominated. J.D. Vance still, in my opinion, dominated the debate. He beat Walz. Walz looked unsure. He looked cringy. He looked confused. He looked unprepared or overprepared. He didn't look like a career politician at all.
No,
he didn't look like someone who was. And I think I'll tell you what. I think also the Kamala Harris team's decision to not do a lot of interviews has made them. It's kind of like Jeff and I are professional musicians here in Las Vegas. If I didn't pick up my instrument, my guitar, and play it every day or every other day, I would get rusty. Playing an instrument is what's the word when milk expires? It's an expirable talent, right? Yeah. Well, doing interviews and talking to the media, if you don't do it, becomes clumsy. Walz looked completely unprepared for this debate, even though he was on a sympathetic network where they weren't going to fact check him, where I'm sure the Harris campaign told him what was off limits. I mean, it couldn't have been more favorable for Walz. And he looked like a deer in the headlights, confused. He agreed with J.D. Vance way too much. And I think what J.D. Vance did that Trump didn't do in his rigged debate with ABC was hammer home how Kamala is in office right now. She's been there for 3.5 years, and the economy sucks. And he kept pounding that in again and again and again. And Walz had no response because there is no response. Yeah. And he got in the SmackDown. He got in a SmackDown. Almost every line ended with, and by the way, Kamala's there right now and hasn't done anything that she says she's going to do after November 5th. So why would we believe she's going to do it after November 5th when she hasn't done it in almost 4 years? And Walz looked like this.
Yeah, quite literally.
This was his answer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Quite literally, he looked frightened throughout the entire thing. And look, we knew that's what it was going to be. We also knew that J.D. Vance was going to be way more prepared. So none of this is a surprise. Also, not surprising is the fact that the left is going to kiss his ass, Walz's ass, no matter what, no matter how well he did, no matter how terribly he did. Right. So everything that you just said, they're just going to turn that around and spin it the other way and say, well, JD just comes across as the slick politician, but the real earnest and heartfelt answers all came from our side, of course, because it was
the Los Angeles Times' headline was J.D. Vance's performance was a masterclass in, and you had to go to the website to hear the last word, gaslighting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's complete nonsense. I mean, by the way, that's exactly what Kamala Harris did to Trump in their debate. She gaslit him the entire time. She didn't talk about policies. She couldn't answer the question that the interviewers asked her, who were on her side. Is America better off now economically than it was when Trump was the president? No answer for 90 minutes. No answer. And they let her off the hook. She just gaslit Trump again and again and again with the interviewer's help. The left is out of excuses. They're out of punchlines. They're out of dodging. I mean, even people on the left that have any kind of credibility at all are saying J.D. Vance definitely won the debate. He appeared to be a statesman. He spoke clearly. He was calm, reserved. He didn't lose his cool. He kept buttressing Trump's arguments about how great Trump was. Trump's already done this job. Trump's been there and done it. Kamala has been a quiet VP, one of the worst VPs in history, and now she's going to be the president. She hasn't won one vote. She's never won a vote. She's never won a primary. She hasn't proven herself in any way, except the corporate elitists, the donors decided that was the way to go.
Sure.
I mean, come on. And the fact that they're shying away from the media, Walz paid the price on that debate because he wasn't prepared to talk at all. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared not only to answer questions effectively, but to get rebuttals. Whenever J.D. Vance had a rebuttal, Walz was useless. He had nothing to say. Yeah. And it's all monologues. They're just he and Kamala are just delivering monologues.
Yep. Well, because they're regurgitating what they're being told to say, and she hasn't done well. She didn't even do well in her most recent solo interview. No. She didn't do well on the Oprah thing. That didn't come off well. So look, there's no surprise.
As you're saying these things, doesn't this remind you of 2016? I mean, the people that wrote Hillary's speeches. And this is, you can fact check. Please fact check this if you can, viewers. They would literally in Hillary's speeches have to say, "Look at the crowd and smile now. Look up from your paper and smile at the crowd. Look to your right, look to the left, and smile at people now." You know what I mean? Like they had to coach her to be human.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with, and it's just a repeat again with Kamala and Walz. I mean, look, nothing was a surprise. We knew how well he was going to do. We pretty much could tell how terribly he was going to do. They're not fit to be in front of the media. I mean, even to your point, even when it's a sympathetic and they're literally spoon feeding them the questions beforehand, they're leading them throughout the whole interview. So knowing all of that, how does that ripple out? Does that change any hearts and minds? And if it does, who specifically?
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's my take on that question. It's a great question, and my response is this: we all know that Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, was the right choice. Why did the Harris campaign not pick Josh Shapiro? Because of their desire to get the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas American votes? I mean, think about that for 1 second. Think about how terrible that is. Think about how, I'm going to use the word disgusting. I think it's a disgusting, this is how calculating the Democratic Party is. It would have handed them Pennsylvania, which is definitely still a swing state and a lot of electoral votes. They decided to not go in that direction in the hope of garnering votes from people that are pro-Palestinian / pro-Hamas. And I'm sorry, I wish those two things were mutually exclusive, but more than 50% of Palestinians support Hamas and have since 2005. That's a fact. Please fact check it. It's the truth. So for the DNC to go with Walz, who is a buffoon, over Josh Shapiro, who's a very competent, well-spoken, proud Jewish governor, just shows you the depth of the DNC's desire to remain in power at any cost. And I think that might cost them the election because Walz was unprepared. I think Josh Shapiro would have done a much better job because Josh Shapiro talks to the media all the time. He's constantly in the media talking about Pennsylvania. So my point is, Shapiro was the right choice. Like when Hillary Clinton chose Tim Cook, who no one ever heard of, right? I mean, he couldn't hurt her, but he couldn't help her either. I think Josh Shapiro really could have helped Kamala Harris. Sure. So my response to the ripple effect of this debate is: if you're an American Jew, if you're an American Jewish person, how can you possibly support the Democratic Party? I mean, seriously? What are you hanging on to right now? What is your reason to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? I'd love to get that answer from anyone that listens to this podcast who's an American Jewish person that's able to vote in this country. How can you defend these people?
Yeah. At this point, it just
Is that,
it
is that
makes
a good answer,
absolutely
Jeff?
no sense.
I hope I answered your question. I mean,
No,
so
yeah.
I think the ripple effect is it'll affect Jewish voters more than it
Mhm.
should have, in a bad way
Yeah.
for the Democrats. And it also just buttresses the fact that Trump was right to turn down the third interview, because when Kamala's asking for that interview, because she needs
Mhm.
it. Kamala needs that interview to try to push herself over the edge and win. Trump doesn't need it.
Mhm.
Trump's going like this. Trump's rising steadily in the polls everywhere. So, and Kamala's not. Kamala's in this choppy, weird situation because she can't talk and she has nothing to say. So I'm proud of Trump for turning down the third interview. He should not do it. No more interviews. It's too. We're already in early voting. Early voting has started. No more. I'm sorry. I mean, no more debates. No more
Mhm.
debates. So my response. It's a long answer. My answer is this. This is the last debate. Trump won the first one. He knocked Joe Biden out of politics forever, made Joe Biden a one-term president. Way to go. The second interview was so one-sided and so 3-against-1. Trump wasn't ready for that. Walz was prepared for it, and he kicked the crap out of Walz. So we're up 2-1.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean Vance? Vance was ready for it. Absolutely.
So Vance and Trump were up 2-1. But Trump beat Biden badly. Trump
Sure.
and Harris was whatever you want to call that, and then Vance just destroyed Walz. So
Yeah.
that's three. And early voting has started. No more time for debates. It's gone.
Oh,
and so
yeah,
just go out and
absolutely.
stump. And sorry.
So do you think this sways independents at all? I mean, because think about it, on the independent side and anything other than just the conservative echo chamber, all you've heard is, JD Vance and Donald Trump are monsters. They're weird. They want to, they're talking about immigrants, Haitian immigrants eating cats and killing. They're just weird. They're crazy. So I think for the first time, this was, I mean, for a lot of people, this was the first opportunity they had to actually see and get to know JD Vance outside of what they're just being told through their, left-wing filters. So do you think that maybe helps sway a little bit, or,
yes,
in one way?
Of course it does. I mean, JD Vance, in my opinion, the answer is yes. I think JD Vance was chosen to be the VP because of his appeal to the Rust Belt. People in the Rust Belt like JD Vance. People in the Rust Belt don't like Tim Walz. And if you're a Democrat, and this is your first time listening to JD Walz answer questions in a debate, he got stomped. He looked horrendous. He looked old. He looked out of touch. It was cringy.
Tim Walz.
He lied. Tim Walz. That's what I said. If I didn't say that, I meant Tim Walz. So I'm sorry. He lied about China. He wasn't actually at Tiananmen Square, but he was somewhere in Hong Kong. I mean,
and had no good answer for that. Just looked and said, "Well, sometimes I'm a shithead." That's basically.
I want the viewers to understand, and I know they understand this, but this is someone who's been in public office for a long time. I mean, this is his job. All Tim Walz does is talk. He doesn't do anything. He just talks and votes on things. So for him to not be able to handle himself in this interview shows you that he's not good at what he does. He's the governor of Minnesota by some weird, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how he got that job. His performance during the BLM riots of 2020 was horrendous. Businesses were destroyed. I mean, I don't know how he keeps the job. I don't know how he got the VP job when Josh Shapiro was clearly the better choice. But maybe he's just the lesser of two evils. I don't know. But it was a terrible debate for Walz. It was embarrassing for the DNC. I'm glad that JD Vance performed. It was a master class in debating. I think JD Vance, he clearly won. He kept his composure, and no one can watch that debate and say he was out of touch, rude, disrespect. It was watching a professional politician speak professionally.
Exactly.
He nailed it. He nailed it.
Exactly. And I think and if anybody has any problems with it, it's exactly who we're talking about. The left-wing mainstream media, who are going to say he's too slick, he's insincere.
Right. The only thing that JD Vance could have done, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the only thing he could have hammered home a little bit more was how radically far to the left Tim Walz and Kamala Harris are. How they're not moderates. They're not in the middle on anything.
Mhm.
They're way, way, way far to the left. Joe Biden campaigned on being in the middle. We found out he wasn't either. So voting for Kamala Harris is voting for the far, far left, fringy men's and women's sports, all that stuff. So JD Vance could have rung that bell a little bit more, but what he did do again and again and again for sound bites was say, Kamala Harris is there right now. All these great ideas that you and she have, she could be doing them right now. Why isn't she? And Tim Walz's response was, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I could say it. I could do that. I could be him. I could have stepped in and done it. I could have, without any preparation, I could have performed the way he did that debate. Like, I don't know.
Here's an oldie for any political junkies out there that can take it back this far. It was Admiral Stockdale proportions. That's
yes,
what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was almost Nixon Kennedy. It was almost that, because he looks so old and gray.
Sure.
And JD Vance is 40 years old, and a young looking 40 years old, good shape, So that disparity was not good for Tim Walz. And the minute they started to speak, they're like, the guy on the left sounds like a politician that knows what he's talking about, and the guy on the right sounds like someone who's like the substitute teacher for the person who has the real job of being the governor and saying, reading things. He had catchphrases he had to get in. He didn't even know how to put them in. I mean, it was just bad. It was really bad.
Yeah, it was really sad to watch. And again, not surprising. So yeah, I guess to kind of, I mean, look, we're not saying anything any different than most of the people on both sides are saying, because it's pretty apparent who, in fact, won the debate. Now,
Tim Walz did not win that debate.
Absolutely. Now, whether you agree with the positions is another matter, which is why I don't think it's necessarily going to move the needle too far. But I would like to think that it would sway at least some of the undecided, some of the independents. And if nothing else, if you can't get behind Trump for whatever reason, because his personality turns you off, whatever, I get it. Just know that the administration is going to be full of some very competent people. You got your JD Vances, you got your Vivek Ramaswamys, you got Tulsi Gabbards, and obviously RFK Jr. It's going to be a competent cabinet of, making up that administration.
Former Democrats. Elon Musk will make an appearance. He might not be a cabinet member, but he'll make an appearance. He'll consult. It's a pretty amazing time in history when those people can come together and agree. The Democratic Party has gone way, way too far to the left. Time to stop them. It's time to stop them.
Here's the other interesting point about it. They've gone so far in the other direction, they've almost come around, because look at who's supporting them now. You got your Mitt Romneys, your Cheneys. So really, they've quite literally switched, because now, for the most part, the right is the party of the people, and the left has now become the party of corporations and and war hawks and warmongers and the military industrial complex. The only people that don't know that is their constituency. Their constituency still believes that they're the anti-establishment party from the 60s, when that's not the case at all. It's completely switched. The party of the people is on the right at this point. The party of inclusion is on the right. And I know that's going to sound funny to anybody who's listening that is on the left, but just actually take a look. The party of inclusion, the party of tolerance, the party of peace. We're tired of the wars. We're tired of the corporate corruption. We're tired of the political corruption.
Jeff, we're tired of America last. I mean, Hurricane Helene just devastated 5 U.S. states, and the Homeland Security is out of money. But last week we gave Ukraine $325 million to rebuild their electrical grid. Our priorities are the Biden administration. Kamala Harris's priorities are all screwed up. It's America last. It's spent our tax dollars money on illegal immigrants, on foreign wars, on everything that doesn't support us right now. And people are struggling. People are struggling to pay their mortgages, to pay their rent, to buy food. It's not an exaggeration. Inflation's at a record 20-year high. It has been. Gas prices are coming now because they're pumping money out of the the oil reserves, for political reasons. It's just, it's shameful behavior. The Biden administration has been the worst administration in my lifetime. And I think history will show that. I think Kamala Harris is a joke as a candidate. History will show that. And I think it's time for us. I think if people that are watching this episode have gotten this far, gotten to 20 minutes and 40 seconds, one of the reasons that Jeff and I are doing this is there are still millions of people who are unregistered to vote or have never voted before. It's time to step up. It's not the right time to sit this one out, guys. We need you to we need you to vote. We need you to get registered. You go online. It takes 10 minutes, 6 minutes.
Less. Yeah.
Okay. And you're done. And by the way, you can always change your affiliation. If you vote Republican this time, and we hope that you really do, you can switch it. There's no law that says you can't switch it. You can do whatever you want.
Well, and technically you don't have to, you have to pick a side, but you could theoretically register as an independent and still vote in the general election.
Sure.
So you don't even have to pick a party right now. That only counts for the primaries.
Right. So that's a technical thing, but I know what you mean. Just register to vote. However you do it, you can vote. Register to vote. Pick a party or don't, but register to vote. Because if you've never voted in your adult life and you're an adult now, you're paying for anything in this country, it's affecting you. It being the Biden inflation, Bidenomics, it's affecting you. Mortgage rates. I mean, everything is affecting you. We can change this if we get Trump back into office. That's why we're doing this podcast. We're not doing it for money. We're doing it to help wake people up and get people to register to vote and come out in big numbers and make it too big to rig so Trump can win and bring some semblance of sanity back to this country and make it America first again. That's it. That's why we're doing it. So please do that. And if you need any help whatsoever, there's a million resources online that are free. That'll guide you through anything. They're in Spanish, they're in English, they're in every language. But please get registered to vote. And if you're like us, if you're like-minded, if you think the way that we do, reach out to your friends and neighbors. Help them too. It's time to do that. Early voting is starting in a lot of states. It's time to do it.
Yep. Early voting starts here in a couple of weeks. I don't have the exact date. I'll look that up and post that. But I think it's like the 14th, 19th, somewhere around there. But yeah, we can start voting here in a few weeks, and I certainly intend to vote early. So we encourage anybody to, just get registered. It doesn't matter what party you register right now. You can change it later. You can register independent. It doesn't really matter. The general election is open to anybody that's registered to vote. So if you're not registered, get registered. And if you don't know if you can vote on November 5th, fine. That's what early voting is for. So you can register by mail. You can early vote. They make it pretty easy to do it. It takes, at the most, it might take an hour out of your day at the very most. And if you mail it in, it won't take you long at all. So get it done.
I would encourage anyone watching this podcast to remember, if you can only remember one thing about politics because you're busy, you're not following it. Kamala Harris knew that Joe Biden had dementia since 2019. She knew he was unfit to be the president of the United States the entire time she's been the vice president. That's disqualifying. That alone. That alone, knowing that the president of the country is unfit to serve and not saying a peep to anyone and saying the opposite thing again and again and again is a lie that's too big to forgive. And she needs to lose and Trump needs to win because it's a binary choice. Those are our choices. So are you going to pick the person that lied to you for 4 years about the president's health? I can't imagine anyone would do that. And if you do, think about the ramifications for the country, for your family, and for our futures.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And so on that note, again, we just want to remind everybody, please get out, vote. And while you're doing that, be sure to like and subscribe and follow Patriots Only, please.
Join us. We're fun guys. We're funny.
We try to be a little charming at least. And if nothing else, check out patriotsonlyplease.com. We have a show archived there. You can sign up to be on our mailing list so you never miss an episode. But we are on all of the streaming platforms, all of the social media platforms. So if you just find us at Patriots Only Please, you will find us everywhere.
Jeff,
so
I feel like I talked a little too much, buddy. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't take up too much of the air. Okay.
No, not at all. I mean, look, it's ultimately at the end of the day, we end up saying a lot of the same things, but again, we do want to make sure that this to use all the catchphrases. This time it's too big to rig. We stop the steal. We beat the cheat. All of them. So and it's just going to take. It's going to require us showing up and voting and taking action in record numbers. Anybody can do it. If you're 18 or over, you can register. Like we said, just do it. However you do it, early, on the day, mailing, however you got to do it. We suggest banking your vote early, just in case there's any craziness, any shenanigans. So, so that's what we're planning on doing. And they make it really easy and it's free. So just do it. Other than that, we thank you so much for your time and your support. Remember, check us out at patriotsonlyplease.com. Like, subscribe, follow Patriots Only, please. And we will see you on to the next one. So until next time, I'm Jeff. You are
Mr. Soley.
Mr. Soley. And we are Patriots. So keep on trumping, right?
Keep on trumping.
Until next time.